Our New Testament lesson this morning is a good example, I believe, of Paul getting it right. According to scholars, the converted prosecutor is writing to a community struggling, a diverse group of ethnically and spiritually people all looking for answers. It's a tense time of ethnic rivalry and anxiety-ridden uncertainty for a people stepping into the unfamiliar. Sounds pretty contemporary, if you ask me. Here we have Paul, the trailblazing master of contradictions and encouragement, attempting, it seems, to provide solace for people. People who are probably wondering, what's the point? And I get it, I understand, because I find myself many times wondering the very same thing. What is the point? It is a simple letter with a simple message at its center, but carries with it a weighted reality. He writes, I, therefore, the prisoner in the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, making every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. What does it mean to be a captive? To be a prisoner to something greater than you, to be called to live the kind of life that sets you apart, to be humble and gentle in the midst of difference and adversity and uncertainty, to be patient and loving and unified in the name of purpose. When in reality, all you really want to do is to be left alone, to live the life you would prefer to live, without pressure and responsibility, but under this requirement of the Lord, you are a prisoner. I can imagine. What is the point of preaching to a people who really are not trying to hear this? I mean, to hear him. To people who only want to know how things are going to turn out. They really don't want to share space with all of these other people from different places who really don't respect them, who see them as less than, who think that they have it all figured out and know what needs to be done at all times, who practice attempting to dictate the actions and moves of everyone else but their own selves. What is the point? You want me to live this kind of life where I am to love the other when I really don't like them all that much? Yes. The Lord says, because there is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called to the one hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in all. But each of us was given grace according to the measure of Christ's gifts. There is only one, and they, are called to follow in the way of the one with humility and through love. In the midst of the difference, there is still the responsibility of the call to walk humbly with one another as we are called preachers, pastors, apostles, deans, professors, students, staff. Young, seasoned, millennial, senior citizen, islander, African, African descent, European, Caribbean, all different, but all one body. Because in all that is different, there is still the responsibility of the one. So look around this space, all who are here, sitting here. Look at all who walk across campus, who work in the building, sitting at the desk, making decisions, and how all of these parts come together seemingly for one goal, for the kingdom. Look at who are studying in the library, working in the refectory, filling up the halls of BLC, and how we are all to be the kingdom. But how are we all called to be the kingdom when we don't see one another? When we don't celebrate one another? When we don't trust one another? How are we to do the work of the kingdom if we cannot learn to love one another, respect one another, cherish one another? What is the point? What is the point? Yes, he called some of us to be this and to be that, but what is the point if we cannot be unified, one body, one Christ, one God? What is the point? What is the point to celebrate an endowment in the millions if we only want to educate a certain kind of student? What is the point of celebrating a new president if we cannot celebrate the people in the background, keeping the grounds clean and the buildings up to code? What is the point of touting all that we are and have if we cannot embrace what it is we are and where it is we're going? What is the point of raising enrollment numbers if we cannot celebrate sincerely what makes us different? What is the point? What is the point of calling ourselves the beloved community if we cannot be the beloved community? What is the point of Greek school if we cannot celebrate those who are fluent in Korean and Spanish? What is the point? There are people in pain, people dying alone, people struggling, people within our very own community mourning, people struggling with loneliness and afraid of the nighttime hour because it's crippling. What is the point? There are people with high blood pressure, anxiety, issues, anger, frustration, phobias of any and every kind. And we are wasting our time and energy on things that are in contradiction of what God is calling us to be. What is the point of claiming to be the church universal, when in reality we are playing church more than being the church? When people are more interested in Twitter beefs between Drake and Meek Mill, when people are angrier about the slaying of Cecil the Lion than the slaying of black bodies in the streets of our cities and states within these United States of America, when people are more interested in Caitlyn Jenner's transition than the dozens of young transgender kids taking their own lives because it's just become too much. And no businesses are throwing endorsements their way. We are called in one way or another to play the role destined of us for the purpose of the kingdom, yet we are spending time fighting against that which God is saying is inevitable. Fighting against that which Paul is saying we must do, be unified in humility and love, speaking the truth in love, living out of love, joined and knit together by every ligament with which it is equipped, working properly, building one another up in love. So as we leave here this morning, let us reflect. Let us reflect on the ways in which we have failed God, failed ourselves, and failed one another, and recommit ourselves to live in unity, in love, with humility as one body, one spirit, just as you were called to be the one hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in all. Amen.